Hey, what's up, Logic fans? Welcome back to another video. Happy to have you again. And today we're looking at section 6.6 of the text, where we're going to focus on quantifier negation. Quantifier negation is our only new rule of replacement. UI, UG, EI, EG are all rules of inference. Quantifier negation is a rule of replacement and our only new rule for the quantifiers that is a rule of replacement. Let's rock. Alright, so let's just jump straight into the rule itself, QN, quantifier negation. Now, the essence of the rule is this. Quantifier negation, as a rule of replacement, allows you to go inside of a sentence, we're going to look at plenty of examples, and switch from one quantifier to another. You can switch from the universal to the existential. You can also switch from the existential to the universal, provided you do it correctly and dot all your I's and cross all your T's here. All right. So let's suppose that you've got like for all y fy, or for all y it's not the case that fy. Okay. From that you could take this negation, flip it to the outside. So put it out here, switch the quantifier. Okay, and then retranscribe everything else without the negation there. All right, so all of this in here is just what's in parentheses right there. Okay, and you can do the exact same thing with the existential. With an existential and a negation on the inside there, you can take that negation, put it to the outside, so it's gone from the inside to the outside, switch the quantifier, and then retranscribe everything else. Make no other changes. So the best way to get a grip on this is to look at some examples in practice, and then we'll see what sort of can and can't be done. But I'm going to give you a chance now to go ahead and try out the first one here. Just try this one. Just try this guy right here. Give it a shot. If you can't get it, that's okay. I'm going to give you a chance on all the others as we introduce this and you get more comfortable with it. So pause now and try to apply quantifier negation to this sentence. Okay, hopefully you were able to get it, but you're going to take this negation, you're going to go to the outside with it, so it's going to go to the outside, and you're going to switch the quantifiers. Notice they remain in terms of x, so from an individual variable x, y, or z, you preserve the variable in terms of x. Don't switch from x to z, okay? That's not allowed. You have to stay in terms of the same variable x, which we've done here. And then it's just a matter of flipping it to the outside and flipping the quantifier. And if we look at this from an intuitive point of view for a second, it should make sense. This says everything is such that it's not read. Pick whatever you like out of Santa's bag. Whatever you pick out, it's guaranteed to not be read. Okay, everything in there is not read, is such that it's not read. This says nothing is read. Right? It's not the case that there exists at least one thing that is read. In other words, nothing is read. So nothing is read versus everything in there is not read. Those mean the same thing. So quantifier negation is actually tracking an intuitive idea here, and you can use that to sort of intuitively check if you're applying the rule correctly. Okay? Go ahead, pause now, and try this one. All right, hopefully you're able to do it, but in this case, what I want you to do is I want you to think about this right here, including that negation there, is the dot, 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 okay? So this negation here is this one right there, all right? And that's the one that's going to go to the outside, and the rest of this is the dot, 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 and it remains the same. So you're going to take this negation, put it to the outside here, switch the quantifier, and retranscribe everything else, which we've done here. Okay, so that's the correct one. And intuitively, if you think about this, without the negations there, it would say everything is read. This says it's not the case that there's something that's not read, right? So intuitively, it ends up working out, all right? And that's the correct application. So you really need to think about what the dot, dot, dot is. In this case, it's that whole thing there, which gets retranscribed as is right here, okay? All right, with that, go ahead and give this one a try. Pause now. Okay, hopefully you were able to get it, but, this is the negation. This whole thing in parentheses is the ... It gets retranscribed there. This goes on the outside, and you switch the quantifier, and it's still in terms of y, and this is how it's done. Okay, this is correct application. All right, go ahead and give the next one a shot. Pause now. Okay, so hopefully you were able to get this one, but in this case, this whole thing is the ... and it's transcribed. So you're going from an existential to a universal. Okay, so you're going from here to here. The not is moving to the outside, and you're switching the quantifier, and everything else is preserved, and that's correct application. Go ahead and try this next one. Pause now. Okay, hopefully you were able to get this last one, but you know, this whole thing here is the ... and so you're going from an existential to a universal, right? And that whole thing gets retranscribed right here, and you have that out there, and notice it preserved it in terms of z, and we switched to the universal quantifier. So from this to this, okay? All right, go ahead and try this next one. Pause now. Okay, now the trick to this one is that we're actually going the sort of opposite direction. So the negation here is on the outside instead of on the inside, but the rule here says and vice versa. So we're going from this guy to this guy, right? So and vice versa, that's what that means. So in this case, we're going to go, we're going to take this guy, we're going to put it inside around whatever is in here, this whole thing, which is just fx in this case, and we're going to switch the quantifier, and we're going to preserve it in terms of x. So this negation goes inside, the quantifier switches, and that's the rule. And think about it intuitively. This says it's not the case that everything is read. This says at least one thing is not read. So it checks out, right, intuitively. So if you need to try to remember the rule, just run a quick little check like that, and that can give you the idea. All right, I've got a little asterisk next to this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you a chance to do this, and then I'll explain why the asterisk is there. But pause now and give it a shot. Okay, so the reason for the asterisk here is that this one has negations in both places, which means you have your pick of how to apply it. You could either go from this, where you're using this negation and transferring it to the outside, okay, from the inside to the outside on a universal quantifier, or you could go from the outside negation to the inside, which is what, in fact, I've done here. So either way is absolutely fine, and notice they will get you to the same place. So for example, what I did here was I went from this to the inside. I went from the outside to the inside, and it left me with the two negations. But if I had gone from this one to the other one, I would get this right here. Let's do it out for you so you can really see it. So if you came up with the following answer, this would have been a correct application of QN as well. And notice that after you've applied QN, you can then apply double negation here. And if you did it the other way, after that you could apply double negation and do it here. Either of these are correct uses of the rule QN, and because the negation was in both places, you could use it either way. But after you've double negated, you can clearly see that it gets you to the same place either way. They both just read there exists in X such that fx after you've cleaned it up. But do not apply QN from this to go directly to this. That skips the double negation step, which is important. All right, so with that, go ahead and give the last one a shot, and let's see how you do with it. Pause now. Okay, so I really wanted you to catch this nuance. On this one, we are going from the outside to the inside, so we're going from this case to this case, all right? So the negation is going to go to the inside, and it's going to be in terms of y, and we're going to switch the quantifier to all y. But Once we've moved it inside, it's important to specify the parentheses here. This negation, once it comes inside, reigns over everything that goes on inside there. That's all this. It doesn't apply just to the FY. So in other words, it doesn't look like this. All right, this would be incorrect application of QN. It applies to everything on the inside like that. So be aware of these little nuances, and I'm trying to make them explicit to you. Whatever is on the inside, however complicated, the negation goes in there and it goes around the whole thing, okay? All right, let's keep trugging along. Okay, so let's try a different kind of example now. Now that you're kind of clear on how it works, let's try this one for a second. Let's suppose that you needed, for whatever reason, to change this quantifier from the universal to the existential. Well, you've got a bit of a problem. The rule QN requires that there be a negation either here or out here, and there isn't one. So my question for you is, how can you switch this and put it in terms of the existential quantifier, given that there are no negations present? So pause now and see if you can figure that little trick out. Okay, hopefully you were able to get it, but I'll give you the hint here. What we do is we add the necessary negations by double negating. In this case, you can apply them in one of two places. You can apply them both out here, or you could have applied them both in here. Remember, double negation is a rule of replacement, so it allows us to go inside this universally quantified sentence if we want, and to mess around with it in appropriate ways. So let's go ahead and suppose, for the sake of argument, that you had applied the double negations out here. How would QN be applied correctly to this sentence? Pause now. Okay, well, basically what you're going to do is you're going to take this one, right? So what we have here is the feature of QN that it's a rule of replacement. So what we're doing is we're looking at this sentence, right? And we're saying, oh, okay, this whole sentence, if we look at the whole thing, right, is a negation. Its main connective is this guy, okay? But I've got this rule QN, which is a rule of replacement, and it allows me to go inside this negation and just look at this part of it. So it's a negation, there's the main connective, and I'm going to go inside it. I'm just going to look at that, and I'm going to apply QN to that. So this is going to go over here, and it's going to be not FX, and then this is going to switch, and so you're left with this one on the outside, which is right here, the switch, and then over there. And if you had started with the negations here instead, your ultimate result would be the same thing. Okay, so it would get you the same thing either way. But that's an important aspect of it, right? QN is a rule of replacement, so we use it to go inside of this negation and just apply it on this part, and that is absolutely okay. So I wanted to make that explicit. All right. Since we're running out of time here, what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to another video, and we'll continue looking at some problems and some examples and some of the nuances of the quantifier negation rule.